Welcome to the Title and Total Compensation Study Forum, online forum today. My name is Mary Luther, and I am the Title and Total Compensation Study Manager, and I work in the Office of Human Resources. Before we get going on our forum today, I want to make sure that you understand how to utilize the chat portion of this webinar. So if you look at the top right portion of your screen, you will see an orange arrow. To open up the panel, use that orange arrow to open up the panel on the top right of your screen. If you look down below underneath questions, you can ask questions there. You can ask them anytime during the webinar. We will group similar questions together and answer key questions at the end of the webinar. This is similar to what we do in our in-person forums, where we provide index cards to individuals to ask questions, and then we group similar questions together and we answer them at the end of the in-person forums. So we will use a similar process in this online forum. Some of the questions that we won't be able to answer today, we will also work with and come up with FAQs that will go on our website. So what are we going to cover today? We're going to talk about HR design, as this particular study is a result of HR design. We're going to tell you where are we going with the Title and Total Compensation Study, how we are going to get there, and we'll certainly spend some time digging into what is a job family. And then we'll walk you through the input form where you can provide your feedback directly into the design of the job families. Lastly, we will talk about what are the upcoming next phases in the study for you to look out for. So many of you probably remember HR design. As you know, that was something we worked on from 2011 to 2015, and we've been implementing the key concepts of HR design over the past 2 years. One key element of HR design was the recommendation to complete a Title and Total Compensation study. So we are very excited that we are now able to kick off the engagement of this study with all of you and involve you in providing feedback to this study in a timely and meaningful way. So first off, where are we going? Our goal in the Title and Total Compensation Study is to create a compensation structure that helps employees advance effectively in their careers. That is really the key goal that we have. Before I go further in telling you all the details of the study, I want to clear up some myths that we've heard people might have about the study. One thing we've heard is some people have had a fear that they might lose their job as a result of this study. Here to tell you that no employees will lose their jobs as a result of this study. Also, employee base pay will not be reduced as a result of this study. This study, the results of the study, will actually provide guidance on how to address market issues over time. So I kind of told you where we're not going and what is it that we're not doing, but what are we doing? A key component of this study, in addition to providing clearer career progression, is that the study will result in relevant and market-informed titles and pay ranges. In this study, you'll see, after the study is done, you'll be able to see how your job and title compares to positions across campus and also at other organizations. You will have clear guidelines to make informed choices about advancing in your career at UW-Madison. Also, a key component of this study is that managers will have tools to make informed decisions about pay and promotional opportunities for their employees. And they will be trained on how to effectively utilize those tools. So that's where we're going. A little bit about our history with HR design. Now, how do we get there? There are 5 phases in this study. First phase that we began at the very end of February of this year was just designing the study, thinking about what is our project plan, what communication strategies we wanted to use, and what are the specific goals that we want to achieve. One of the key components during that time was working with our consulting firm, Mercer Consulting, having them come on campus and meet with various individuals across the campus. They met with academic staff governance, university staff governance, they met with HR individuals, they met with managers, senior leaders, and other employees. And really the key question that they asked was, what's not working well today? What do you want to see changed? Really, what are your hopes and dreams when you think about what the title and total compensation study might achieve? With that, our design of the study resulted from that feedback. Right now, we are in phase 2. That's where we're developing the new title structure, and we're developing job families and sub-job families and assessing our positions. Once we have created a new titling framework, then we will match those titles to market data, and we will create pay structures. That's phase 3 that will begin roughly about in February. From the time now, July of 2017 to August 2018, we are also working on the review of our benefits and work life and leave structures. That is something that we are doing specifically with Mercer Consulting, where we are looking at how our benefits and leave structures compare to our peers, both in higher education, as well as in the Madison area and the state of Wisconsin. Once that work is done, we will implement our new structures. Good news is we have a lot of time built in our project plan to implement the structures. We want to make sure we spend time to make sure that we communicate clearly to employees, that managers get fully trained, that there is time to socialize the new concepts and get feedback. All of that is part of the implementation. So right now in phase 2, you will learn about our study. That's what we're doing today in this online forum, as well as the in-person forums that we have scheduled across campus that will be ending on October 10th. You will be able to provide feedback immediately or an hour after our session today on job families and the job framework. In March of 2018, we estimate that that will be the time when you and your manager will work on updating your job description to make sure that you're appropriately placed into the new structure. So what are job families? Job family is really a group of jobs involving similar types of work and duties and requiring similar training, skills, knowledge, and expertise. And a subfamily is just a subset of that job family that describes in more detail and a more specialized function. One of the analogies I like to use in trying to describe to people why do we do this job family grouping for our positions is a library. If you were to go into a library and all of the books were not grouped in any way, and yet you wanted to go in and find out about home improvement, it would be very difficult for you to find the book that you need and be able to pick that up. So that is why libraries group their books into certain sections, home improvement, travel, all the different areas, to make it easier for us to identify what books are more similar, and so that when we're looking for that particular book, we can easily identify it. It is the same with job families. What we are trying to do is group jobs together that are similar so that employees have an easier time of understanding what might be some similar types of career options for them and what type of jobs might they want to consider. So let me give you an example. Today, we have created 20 job families. These are the job families that we are starting out with that we believe encompass the work here at UW-Madison, as well as the UW system. Then let's go a little deeper. You can see that a The financial job family collects and analyzes and reports on the institution's financial matters. Then when you get to a subfamily of that financial job family, you might look at financial operations. So there we're becoming a little bit more narrow in the type of jobs that fit into the subfamily, where those would be more accounts payable and receivable type activities and processing of invoices. Another example would be from facilities and capital planning. So facilities and capital planning type jobs are those jobs that provide services related to the operation, maintenance, and renovation of all the institution's properties. If you look a little deeper into that, you see that a subfamily of that could be the custodian or general labor subfamily. And there the activities are still about the operation and the renovation and the caring of the institution's properties. But in this subfamily, it's more about the planning and directing of the cleanliness and the sanitation and appearance in the working and living environments of those buildings. So where are we here today? We have started those job families and subfamilies that we've created, and now we're here to get your input. And the main way that we are getting input on our job families and sub-job families are through the employee forums such that you're participating in today. In the forum today, an hour after our session ends, you will receive an email where you will actually be able to provide direct feedback on our job families and sub-job families that will help us better define them. In addition to employee forums, one of the ways in which the title and total compensation study is making sure that we're reaching out to employees is through our various teams. One of the teams that we have is the collaboration and outreach team. That team is made up of academic staff positions, university staff positions, as well as HR positions across our campus. And those individuals that work on that team are the ones that actually put together this employee forum session that we're having today. They're the ones that thought through what is it that employees need to know about our study, and what do we want to get information from employees about at this time in the project. An even more key part of our plan is that we have now initiated 20 job family teams. Over 250 employees will be on these project teams over the next 10 weeks, October through the middle of December. And the goal of those teams is to take the initial job families and sub-job families that we've created and really think about them deeply and think about how can we make sure that those job families and that structure really does help employees to manage their career better. And how do we make sure we use the language and words when describing those job families that actually make sense to employees and they can understand how their job fits into those job families. In order to create these job family teams, we worked with academic staff governance as well as university staff governance. And people applied and got appointed to the various teams. We also have HR individuals and management individuals on those teams. So again, today we will want your input on the job families. And what happens when you complete the form that you will get online an hour after the session ends, that feedback that you provide will go directly to the job family team that is focused on the particular job family that you provide input on. So let's kind of walk through what that online job family feedback is going to look like. As I said, about an hour after this presentation ends, you will receive a link to provide your input on the job families. In that link, you will open up to this form, the job family feedback form. You will provide us with your current job title and your college, school, or division. Then you will look at which job family do you believe your job fits into. You'll be able to read all the definitions of the job families by hovering over the job family definitions PDF. Once you choose one of the job families, then it will show up and provide more detail on that. You can also choose more than one, but we do want you to enter your primary job family. So if you believe that you are a mixture of two job families, we would still like you to identify the one that you think is most primary. Once you pick a particular job family, you'll be able to read the definition of that job family and also the proposed subfamilies and suggest additions, changes that would help you to see where your job fits into the job family structure. So as you can see from this example, you see the definition of the financial job family, and then you see these are the subfamily titles that fall within that. And then you have a box where you can put changes. Some of the changes that we've received to date from our in-person forums have been really good. For example, the definition I just provided you about facilities and capital planning, one of the feedback that we received was that employees in the custodial subfamily, they would like to see cleanliness of the buildings in the overarching job family description. That was great feedback, and we appreciate it greatly. You'll also have an opportunity to provide questions that you have and things that you want answered in future forums, or questions that you want answered in our FAQs that are on our website. We would very much appreciate it if you could provide us any questions that you have, because it is truly our goal for us to be able to provide the information that you need about the study in a timely way. Once you enter that and you enter your email address, you will submit. And then, like I said before, that information that you provide will go directly to a team of your peers, as well as others across campus that focus on that particular job family and are charged with thinking through that job family and making sure that we create it in a way that helps in career advancement. So what's coming up in phase 2? So as we said, over the next 2 months, we'll be working on job families and subfamilies, and that is the work that's going to be done by the job family teams. The next part of the total framework is career level. So we will have career levels for individual contributors as well as managers, and we will be describing what moves somebody from one level to the next level. How do we differentiate jobs? What criteria will we use to differentiate jobs that are at the entry level versus levels above that? And then eventually, all the jobs will be mapped to a job family, a sub-job family, and a level. And like I said before, once that is done, we will work on a job description, you will, with your manager, and make sure that you're appropriately situated in the right job family, sub-job family, and level. So what's next? The job family will be reviewed by a job family team with expertise in that job family. Also, as a part of that project, the job family teams will spend some time discussing job families, sub-job families, and then they themselves will hold something similar to the forums we're holding now. We'll be calling them listening sessions. And so, for example, the IT job family team will have a listening session for IT employees to provide input on the subfamilies that the project teams will be providing at that time. Once we have gotten to the point where we have solidified our job family structure, our sub-job family structure, and our leveling structure, then we will map our jobs preliminarily to the job framework. Once they're mapped preliminarily, then your manager and you will enter your unique job duties and education and experience into an online job description application. And with that, that will help us complete the mapping process and place you into the job family structure. So now we have gotten a number of questions over the course of our time together today. And so I'm just going to go over a few of the ones that have been more frequent. One of the questions that we've gotten quite a bit is, will the study result in pay increases for employees? Will the mapping of my current job to the new job framework result in a pay increase if I've found to be at a higher level than I am today? It's a really good question, and it is one that we get quite often. We will develop a new job framework. Remember, again, the job framework includes job families, subfamilies, and levels. And we will map all the jobs based on current job duties to that job framework. In general, the mapping of positions to this new job framework will not result in a pay increase. However, the study may uncover some misclassification of employees in the current system. In these situations, the Office of Human Resources Compensation and Titling Group will work with appropriate local HR representative to determine if there needs to be an adjustment in that person's pay. Another question that we've gotten is, how will we have the budget to kind of fund these additional pay increases? Now, that is a difficult question to answer until we know how large the discrepancies are between the market that we will find out as a result of this study and the current pay of employees. However, one thing we have said is we have a belief that all of the discrepancies will not be resolved immediately, that it will take time. One of the things that I have heard consistently, though, from Vice Chancellor of Finance and Administration, Lauren Heller, is he stated that he is committed to working with the budget to help make our university one that has competitive compensation relative to our peers and market medians. Another question is, what sources of market data will be used to determine pay ranges for job families and sub-job families? It's also a very good question. One of the things we will do in this study is we'll identify appropriate market data for different groupings of positions. Typically, we will group together more academic-like jobs versus jobs that are not as tied to the academic necessarily environment, as well as management and individual contributor jobs. Then what we do is we look at, for those particular groupings, where do we typically lose employees to, and where do we attract employees from in terms of what other organizations? And that's how we determine what is the appropriate market. So for example, for positions that are primarily academic and that don't exist in non-academic organizations, our market data is going to be based primarily on higher ed institutions that are our peers, the Big Ten and our official peers. For those positions that can be found both at academic institutions as well as in the private sector and public sector, we will use a different market. For some positions, that might be a market here in Madison. For others, it might be broader than the Madison area, the state of Wisconsin, or the Midwest region, or even national market data, depending on the position. With that, we are always looking at organizations within those local marketplaces that are most similar to us: large organizations, public organizations, large private organizations. Another question is, how will career advancement work in the new job framework? Will there be clear career paths? Well, I feel like I almost set people up for that question, because that is really the core of this system, is that we want to create a new title and total compensation system that really promotes career advancement. And how do we do that? We do that by reducing the hindrances in today's system that do not help employees advance in their career, or actually provide a hindrance to that. The study will help us to determine how to organize our jobs and revise our policies to make things more simple for employees to understand and easier for managers to manage. Another question is, will there be both university and academic staff titles and positions in the new system? One thing that I want to make clear is that it is not the intention of this study, or even within the scope of this study, to make any changes to our university and staff governance. It is the intention of this study to create a framework and salary and promotion guidelines that can be more consistent and transparent, and so that people can better understand how they can move across the university. Another question people have is, what happens if my job straddles two job families, or I'm asked to perform duties outside of my job family? Many jobs will have some duties that are not within their primary job family. It is the nature of our jobs that we create jobs that individually make sense for our organization, that may not fit that pure description of a job family. However, when you determine your primary job family, what you're looking for is, what are the key components? Why does this job exist? Where does this job spend the majority of its time? What is the primary reason for this job? And that's really where your job family should be. You might be doing duties that are in another job family, and then that might be interesting for you to know, because you might want to consider jobs that are in your secondary job family for future career advancement. But you will be assigned a job family based on the primary responsibility of your job. Another question that came up is, will my benefits change as a result of the study? So benefits provided by the state of Wisconsin are out of scope for the project. Now, we will review carefully benefits in phase 4. And like I said earlier, we will compare ourselves to market peers. In general, what we come up with for changes in benefits or leave practices will be something that will correspond with what we're doing with our compensation. It will be something that employees will have great input into. One thing you can be assured of is that if we do make changes to our benefits or leave programs in order to help career advancement, or for reasons that were identified out of HR design, we will try to minimize negative impacts on employees when we transition to the new system. Another feedback that we received is, what if your work in, say, a library, what if you work in a library but you're not a librarian, or you're in an administration role? Should you say your family is libraries and museums if you're in the library, but really your work is more administrative, or your work could even be IT or HR related? So that is an excellent question, and one that we all struggle with sometimes. A job family is really based on the duties of your job. So in this particular example that the employee provided, if you're doing administrative work or IT work, you would be in the administration job family or the IT job family, depending, not the library's job family. We determine the job family by the work that's being done, not by the organizational structure that somebody fits within. So for example, in OHR, the Office of Human Resources, we have people that perform administrative work, we have communications individuals, we have IT individuals. They're doing work that is related and similar to other IT individuals across campus. They will be classified in IT if they're doing IT work rather than in human resources. One of the questions that someone had is, I feel I'm performing tasks that are beyond my job description. And a person's afraid that if they participate in this review, we'll end up losing that extra work that they really like being able to do. It is not the intent of this study to create jobs that are cookie cutters and all look the same. We won't be changing people's jobs so that they fit into a particular job family perfectly. What we will do, however, is look at the work that's being done, like I said earlier, and we'll say, what is the primary role that this position performs? And therefore, we will put it into a title and into a pay range that fits that particular job. That way, if we do that consistently and accurately, you can look at your title and others within the organization that have that title and know that those are jobs that are similar to yours if you want to move to a different college or division. It also helps you to know how you compare to your peers outside of the university if we have modern titles that fits the external marketplace. Now we have been, completed the presentation, and we have answered kind of the key questions that came up in today's session. Like I said earlier, you will, an hour after we end this session, you'll receive an email, and you will have the ability to provide input directly to the job family teams by providing input on the description that is currently exists regarding your job family. Remember, again, we've created a tentative job family structure, and we've described those job families at this point in time. But over the next 2 months, job family teams are going to spend a lot of work revising those descriptions, making sure those descriptions make sense to the employees, making sure that they cover the work that's being done, making sure that they're comparable to what other organizations and how other organizations group jobs, as well as that we're grouping in ways that make sense for UW-Madison. So your input is really critical. And so I really hope that when you get that email, that you will take the time to fill out the form and provide us with feedback on your particular job family and what you think makes sense in terms of changes. You can also go to our website, which is up on the screen right now, and we have additional information about project teams, who's on the project teams, about our different study phases, about the different forums that we have in person, and resources. Our FAQs are on that website. And I also want you to know that at any time, you can email us directly to the ttcstudy@ohr.wisc.edu. We typically check that email daily, and we try to respond very promptly. Any questions that you have or ideas that you have, we do encourage you to provide us an email with that information. So with that, I say thank you. Really, thank you for taking your time today. I know how busy everyone is. We know how hard we all work here. And I just really appreciate it that there are many people that really want to see this study create something that will be long-lasting, that will be helpful to the institution as well as employees. So I really do appreciate your time and your thoughts, and we're interested in hearing your feedback. Thank you.